Well, the number isn't so surprising to me, but what is encouraging is the market's reaction. Because in 2021, very often when we'd see these high inflation prints, the metals would sell off because the general market participants would say, well, that means the Fed's going to increase the pace of taper. They're going to raise interest rates. They're going to fight inflation. Well, today's price action is indicative that perhaps that narrative is crumbling, and the market is beginning to lose faith that the Fed is going to be able to get ahead of inflation. And, silver and gold investors, most of us anyway, have known that for a while. But what we need is the general market to recognize what we've expected. And it looks like perhaps that's starting to come to fruition. We've built a little bit of a buffer below there, above that support line. And that support line is right at $21.41. As long as support above there holds, I think it's constructive. We're carving out a base. However, if that were to fail, that does open up the possibility, I think it's an outside possibility, of one more quick flush down into the high teens. Unlikely, but it's something I'm mentally prepared for. The vast majority of my metals portfolio is in silver, not platinum. And, there's no clear patterns here that can indicate the next price move, but you can see that they're oversold just above this strong support. This is SILJ, by the way, the junior silver mining ETF. And what we're seeing this week is a bullish engulfing candle. So that's encouraging. So I think we're trying to bottom. We're trying to find a bottom near these levels is the most likely scenario for the mining stocks. Well, my personal strategy is I scale in on weakness. I've already got my core positions. So whenever we see a nice sharp down day, I just buy a little bit almost every time. And I try and identify the miners that are, first of all, I put together a watch list every week, and I find the most attractive miners for chart-based entry points. And then if any of those mining stocks gets particularly sold off relative to the others, so that's where I scale in on weakness. The stock market has never been so technically stretched on a long-term basis. It's never been so fundamentally overvalued. So I think we're due for a sharp correction. I don't want to use the word crash, but I think a 10 to 20% pullback is very likely in 2022, probably in the first half, if not the first quarter. And that would actually be a very good thing for metals, because I think that's what would cause the Fed to reverse course and reverse policy on its tightening, on its plans to raise interest rates and do quantitative tightening and all that. And I think it'll, in fact, open up the monetary spigots one more time, like we've never seen before, with just a 20-30% pullback in the stock market. And that would obviously be rocket fuel for silver and gold when the Fed starts printing again, like they were in 2020.
And you do see the Fed still possibly reversing course, even though we're seeing this record high inflation?
Yeah, that's the dilemma, Elijah, is that they're between a rock and a hard place. They have to choose between propping up an economy that's on life support or letting inflation run hot. So they're going to have to choose. Do they crash the economy, or do they let inflation run hot? And history suggests that they're going to choose inflation. And I think the reason is because the masses don't understand inflation. They don't know who to blame. They blame the corporations. They blame each other. They don't blame the politicians who created this mess or the Federal Reserve. So I think they're going to choose inflation 100%. Whether that happens, over the short term or over the longer term, I'm highly confident in that. I like to short-term trade just a small percentage of my portfolio. So I take short positions every time we tap this line, and I'm just looking for a quick little profit. But if we come back up and retest this one more time, that's where I'd be looking to add, buy volatility, some volatility call options. And if this support line here fails, I think the path of least resistance then becomes a pullback towards this 200-day moving average around 4,400 on the S&P 500.
And one other market that we do look at as well is the US dollar index, because it definitely shows a little bit about where metals might be going. Because obviously, if there's dollar weakness, that normally is bullish for the metals. We have been seeing quite a rally recently, though. Where do you see the dollar index going in the near future?
Well, the next week or two is going to be very telling. You can see this bullish, they call this a bullish arc pattern right here. And we had this uptrend channel, very clear uptrend channel. And we just failed at lower end of support in that uptrend channel right here. And 94.65 was the key breakout level. So I've been telling our readers, hey, we're probably going to come back and back test that breakout level. That's typically what happens. Whenever you get a breakout, you come back and back test what was resistance as support. And how price reacts there is going to be, if we bounce from 94.65, it's possible we go up and make one more higher high in the dollar. However, if that support fails or we continue lower, we've probably seen the top. So we'll be watching that closely in the next week or so. But regardless, over the next few months, I think the dollar is, in a topping pattern here. and very likely to roll over and head back towards, the high 80s, low 90s. I guess one last thought is, a lot of precious metals investors have been confounded because for 2021, we kept getting these high inflation numbers and silver and gold didn't respond the way you would expect. And people are puzzled, and including myself for a while there. I was like, why are the metals doing this? But, I think what's happening is in 2021, the general market participants expected the Fed to get ahead of inflation. Every time we see a high inflation print, they think, they're going to go fight it now. That hurt metals. Today's price action is very encouraging that perhaps that narrative is crumbling. So we'll see if that unfolds in 2022.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Markus Dahn, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Markus Dahn.